Here is Immortal Moments for explanation. Friends, like videos and subscribes to our channel. Swallowed Star 2 Land of Origin Part 105 Explanation. So let's start our explanation. The Land of Origin, the peak of the mountain on Primordial Island. Luo Feng sat at the edge of the cliff, a wine jug beside him, the eye of life and death opened at his brow. He could clearly see the lives of those invincible creatures on Primordial Island and gaze over most of the Land of Origin. Peaceful, harmonious, Luo Feng remarked, gazing at the Land of Origin, could even be considered absolutely safe. The Land of Origin was the treasured place nurtured by the infinite primordial space, further refined and fortified by multiple lords. Later, the Starlight Lord relocated it to this special spacetime, making it impossible for even many primordial ancestors to find it. But in stark contrast, the entire cultivated territory is under full assault. I've heard another world group has fallen, the Jade River World Group. The news of world group collapses is difficult to ascertain for the cultivators inside the braided cage. But in the Land of Origin, the fall of every world group quickly spreads among the world-level primordial, high-level primordial beings. After all, every world group requires a substantial guard of high-level primordial life forms. The death of their avatars in battle makes the news impossible to conceal. Cultivated territory once reached up to 3,600 world groups. Luo Feng was aware this was only nominal control. Some fringe areas have always been attacked by the innate primordial life camp. Areas like the Dark World Group are core regions and considered rather safe. But the world groups on the fringe areas have been continuously falling. Now, 2,922 world groups remain. Even though, during this process, the cultivator camp has counter-killed 3 primordial ancestors, numerous world-level primordials, and countless high-level primordials, Luo Feng pondered, the situation is clear. The innate primordial life camp fights with reckless abandon, no fear of losses, and the depth of their foundation is robust. World group collapses are going to increase. Lord Yuan also said the worst outcome is all territories falling. Luo Feng understood. The 7 lords had no way to reverse the situation. After all, their opponent's overall strength was immense. As Luo Feng had heard, even though the innate primordial life camp was vast, this war saw only a majority of their forces unified. Some forces, some primordial ancestors, were unwilling to join the battle. Would my homeland source world fall too? For the first time during closed-door cultivation in the Land of Origin, just after emerging, Luo Feng learned of the Jade River World Group's fall. Of course, his mood was not good. He worried about his homeland, his close relatives and friends. There were too many innocent and weak within the human clan of his homeland. If a world group fell and the source world was destroyed, all creatures would perish. Even if there were migration plans, moving from the homeland source world to the distant Land of Origin was a long journey. The Land of Origin, being only so large, offered only so many spots for migration. The birth of new world-level primordials is meaningless for the war between the 2 camps. Only the birth of lords can influence the situation, Luo Feng thought. To become a lord. His first closed-door cultivation had provided Luo Feng significant gains. But compared to a lord, he remained incredibly distant. This time in closed-door cultivation was the longest yet, consuming over 3.7 million epochs of time. Among them, comprehending over 56.03 million low-level primordial bloodlines cost Luo Feng about 900,000 epochs. Comprehending over 320,000 high-level primordial bloodlines consumed over 2.8 million epochs. Accumulated, over 3.7 million epochs. Due to the cave mansion for Fusion Dao cultivators, time inside the quiet room accelerated up to 1,000,000-fold, so the outside world had only experienced a little over 3 epochs. Although time outside had barely passed, Luo Feng's spirit was a bit weary, so he emerged to take in the scenery of the Land of Origin. The Starlight Lord spent staggeringly long years breaking laws with force. What does my little cultivation time count as? Luo Feng, knowing the Jade River World Group's fall, felt only a burning fighting spirit. Luo Feng rose, returning to the quiet room of the cave mansion once more. Inside the quiet room of the cave mansion, Luo Feng sat cross-legged, the sky-splitting saber embedded in the ground beside him. The observation capability of the land of origin allowed the mysteries within the sky-splitting saber to be reflected over 80%. These reflected mysteries were fully displayed within the quiet room. I can understand parts of the sky-splitting saber's mysteries. My current accumulation is 10 to 100 times stronger than before I was drawn in. Luo Feng realized his progress, as he had been comprehending the primordial bloodlines involving life, destruction, and life and death combined. The accumulation in life and destruction naturally improved significantly. Even the mind consciousness system, having comprehended over 32,000 high-level primordial bloodlines, thousands of which contained the mind consciousness system, Luo Feng's system dramatically enriched, undergoing a qualitative transformation. Spiritual will. Compared to before being drawn in, it was at least 10 times stronger. Though his physical body and soul had not broken out of the braided cage, merely regarding spiritual will, he was already top tier among high-level primordials. Most crucially, I've newly comprehended the primordial power system. This was, in Luo Feng's own view, the greatest gain from his first closed-door cultivation. Within infinite primordial space, everything and all creatures ultimately originated from primordial force. The primordial force is the soil of everything. Through comprehending a vast amount of low-level and high-level primordial bloodlines, Luo Feng gradually grasped their commonality. The origin of these lives was the primordial force. Without primordial force, all life would perish. If I am to pursue the largest and strongest life form, the primordial power system is an indispensable part. The primordial power system was already under construction by Luo Feng. Even the weakest low-level primordial life could absorb primordial force. The primordial power system Luo Feng constructed was continuously becoming enriched. Now, let's begin comprehending world-level primordial bloodlines. Luo Feng started filtering. Among more than 30,000 world-level primordial bloodlines, 2,729 featured life, destruction, and life and death combined. The usual method, poverty-style insight. Luo Feng chose a type of world-level primordial bloodline, first to comprehend the corresponding 12 materials, which are items like azure scales, fangs, and blood. The materials of world-level primordial life are indeed much harder to comprehend. Luo Feng encountered numerous confusions as soon as he began to contemplate, but he was patient, carefully pondering, and resolved some confusions. In the blink of an eye, a long 500,000 epochs had passed. Luo Feng stared blankly at these materials before him. I simply can't comprehend it, let alone complete the secret patterns. Luo Feng was already in despair. During these 500,000 epochs, he had tried everything, but the secret patterns of these materials had so many confusions that completely blocked him. Don't understand. Too much was not understood. Even with 100 times more time, Luo Feng had no confidence in solving half of the confusions. Can't waste time. Luo Feng frowned. According to his cultivation plan, a world-level primordial bloodline was merely a small step in the grand scheme. He couldn't just be stuck on this step. I need to slightly adapt my method of comprehending the world-level primordial bloodline. Start with the easy ones first. I'll first select from the 2,729 kinds of world-level primordial bloodlines which are more compatible with me. Luo Feng was too confident before. After all, for low-level primordial bloodlines, high-level primordial bloodlines, any that encompassed life, destruction, and life and death, he comprehended them all thoroughly. So when he was comprehending world-level primordial bloodlines, he also attempted to conquer them all. But the first one thoroughly blocked him. He woke up to reality. The corpse materials of these primordial bloodlines, at a glance, there are 73 kinds more compatible with me. Luo Feng took a rough look. These were the ones he could understand 30 to 40% just by looking. Clearly, they fit well with him and should be more aligned with his path. Let's begin. Luo Feng chose the most compatible one, named Star Sea Demon Lord, the corpse material of a world-level primordial life. This time it was relatively smooth. In less than 100,000 epochs, Luo Feng had a thorough understanding of these corpse materials and completed the secret pattern. He also compared it with the primordial bloodline. Very smoothly, Luo Feng comprehended more than 70% of this world-level primordial bloodline, Star Sea Demon Lord. The primordial bloodline of the Star Sea Demon Lord, the profundity of life and destruction occupies 75%, and I have almost comprehended it all. Luo Feng smiled. He finally comprehended one type of world-level primordial bloodline. At least, with the primordial bloodline of the Star Sea Demon Lord, he is confident in immediately becoming a world-level primordial. And because it is relying on comprehending the bloodline to break through, spending some time to reach the world-level primordial perfection state isn't a difficult matter. But what I pursue is to break laws with force. Luo Feng began to comprehend the second type of world-level primordial bloodline. Since Luo Feng is starting with the easy ones first, comprehending the most compatible, the difficulty gets higher, and the time spent longer as he goes further. From these 73 world-level primordial bloodlines that are more compatible with me, I've comprehended 15 types. The second time Luo Feng went into seclusion had already approached 10 million epochs, having tried all those compatible ones. But only 15 of them were comprehended over 70%. However, even if cultivators refine bloodlines to reduce the will pollution and memory pollution within, the fewer bloodlines refined, the better, and the higher the proportion of bloodline comprehension, the better. Therefore, even if Luo Feng walks the path of bloodlines, it's best to choose only one bloodline. Although Luo Feng theoretically could refine 15 types of world-level primordial bloodlines into his body, making his strength at the world-level primordial level extremely strong, the vast will pollution and memory pollution would completely distort his path. Want to comprehend the primordial level Tao? The hope is nearly extinguished. The land of origin. Yuan sat alone by the lake, fishing. Luo Feng has comprehended the 15th world-level primordial bloodline. Information automatically reported. The land of origin pays great attention to Primordial Island, noting every UN-liberated junior's cultivation state. When Luo Feng is pondering the mysteries of primordial bloodlines in the quiet room, every bit of his progress is recorded. Comprehending over 70% of high-level primordial bloodlines is not worth reporting. But comprehending over 70% of world-level primordial bloodlines would warrant a report. 15 types now. Yuan continued fishing without much concern. Most fusion Dao cultivators, when refining bloodlines to become world-level primordial, can comprehend several types of primordial bloodlines. Approximately one-third of fusion Dao cultivators can achieve comprehension of over a dozen world-level primordial bloodlines. Luo Feng's actual seclusion time is 12 million epochs, relatively short time spent. But merely comprehending 15 types is not a lot. Yuan remained calm. He didn't even express any surprise. Luo Feng's progress still falls far too short of becoming a lord. Luo Feng was filled with joy, as he had resonated with 73 types of world-level primordial bloodlines, although only 15 of them had over 70% comprehension. Yet for the rest, he had also comprehended at least 40 to 50%. In the process of comprehending, completing secret patterns, and comparing bloodlines, each world-level primordial bloodline brought many gains to Luo Feng. Feeling the slow yet steady progress, Luo Feng naturally felt joyful. As long as he doesn't stop, he will inevitably go farther and farther. I understand why the physical body of a world-level primordial can be so immense, Luo Feng murmured softly. The physical body of a world-level primordial life far exceeds high-level primordial. It has already reached about 1% of a normal source world. One must know that the physical body of a primordial ancestor, at an average level, is only about 1/10 of a normal source world. The main difference between the two lies in the grasp of power levels. The difference in physical bodies has become quite small. At the world-level primordial stage, the physical body system is already quite perfect. In Luo Feng's mind, the physical body system gradually took shape, formed by absorbing the life and destruction mysteries of countless world-level primordial bloodlines. Luo Feng's original accumulation was mainly in the mind consciousness system, life system, destruction system, and primordial power system. These four parts are the foundation for the future construction of the complete primordial life and death Tao. And now Luo Feng was gradually exploring the physical body system, which was also the fifth part. The primordial life and death Tao I pursue seeks the ultimate enormous life form. Therefore, the physical body system is very important to me. Luo Feng began to organize the remaining more than 2,000 world-level primordial bloodlines. From easy to difficult, he gradually comprehended them one by one. With the previous accumulation of 73 world-level primordial bloodlines, the difficulty of comprehension was somewhat reduced for Luo Feng. Among the 2,729 world-level primordial bloodlines, Luo Feng patiently comprehended each one. After comprehending all once, he would comprehend them a second time, a third time. Again and again. Each time, Luo Feng would have new gains. With the ever-deepening accumulation, new gains are always assured. No one knows how much time has passed. It's about time. No matter how much I comprehend these world-level primordial bloodlines, the gains have become negligible. Luo Feng finally stopped after comprehending over 30 times. He treasures these world-level primordial bloodlines and corpse materials dearly, as it was under the collection of the Starlight Lord that he had the chance to comprehend freely, so he was extremely patient in comprehending them repeatedly. The three categories of life, destruction, and the combination of life and death. Among them, I have comprehended all low-level primordial bloodlines and high-level primordial bloodlines. I have comprehended 43 kinds of world-level primordial bloodlines. The others have also been comprehended several times, making it hard to have any significant new gains. Luo Feng's eyes burned with intense fervor. Now, it's time to comprehend ancestor-level corpse materials. Luo Feng was introduced to the land of origin and did not attempt to create the primordial life and death Tao, but continued to accumulate. From Luo Feng's perspective, if he couldn't even understand the primordial ancestor-level materials, on what basis could he construct the primordial life and death Tao? To comprehend primordial ancestor-level materials, one must try to understand low-level, high-level, and world-level primordial bloodlines as much as possible. I have been in seclusion for a full 3,500,000,000 epochs since coming to the land of origin, finally beginning to comprehend ancestor-level materials. In the quiet room, Luo Feng took a sip of fruit wine, which he exchanged for reward points, 100,000 reward points for 1 unit, enough for Luo Feng's cultivation needs for 10 billion epochs, with excellent effects. In the land of origin, I need to observe ancestor-level materials, Luo Feng said. Up to this point, the cultivator camp has slain a total of 17 primordial ancestors. Coupled with the ancestor-level corpse materials purchased by the cultivator camp and other strong beings, there are a total of 31 ancestor-level corpse materials. Luo Feng listened, shocked. The lords on our side are indeed formidable, having killed a total of 17 primordial ancestors. It can also be seen that the primordial ancestors have some other causes of death. In the infinite primordial space, there are indeed many dangers. Are there any life secret patterns or destruction secret patterns exceeding 70%? Luo Feng inquired. No, the land of origin responded. Luo Feng was taken aback. He had initially selected more than 2,000 kinds of world-level primordial bloodlines, all exceeding 70% in combined life and destruction. Yet, in the ancestor-level corpse materials, none could be selected. How about a cumulative total exceeding 60%? No, the land of origin responded again. Luo Feng frowned, sensing something was amiss. Send me all the available intelligence on the 31 ancestor materials that I have access to, Luo Feng instructed. Understood. Soon, detailed intelligence on the 31 deceased ancestors and much material information was transmitted to Luo Feng. Upon reading, Luo Feng discovered the life secret pattern ratio of these deceased primordial ancestors was at best about 39%. The corpse material of the Wanqing ancestor had a life secret pattern of about 34%, already ranking second. Their life secret patterns are generally low. Perhaps this is one of the reasons for their demise. After all, Luo Feng was pursuing the Tao of life and death, primarily based on life. He understood that if life secret patterns were sufficiently high, they would have strong life-preserving capabilities. Let's start comprehending, beginning with the Wanqing ancestor corpse material. The Wanqing ancestor, whose life secret pattern ranked second among the 31 ancestors, was ultimately the source of the Star Tower blood scale. Luo Feng's cultivation path was guided by it. Naturally, it was the most compatible choice, being the first he selected. Asterisk 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 asterisk. The land of origin. Those primordial ancestors have taken action. The voice of the Starlight Lord rang in the ears of the other 6 lords. They've only recuperated for 500 epochs, and now they are attacking again. Some of them likely haven't fully recovered yet. A group of over 70 primordial ancestors on one side and only 7 lords on the other. Yet, those lords grasp the Tao at the primordial level, the essence of the highest level power, and some of their moves are simply unstoppable. Once initiated, they are bound to hit. Even after layers of weakening, they still penetrate the bodies of those ancestors. To completely expel the penetration of a lord's power is exceedingly difficult. 500 epochs have passed, yet several ancestors still haven't fully recovered. These primordial ancestors are truly desperate. Originally the foremost power in the infinite primordial space, they lost several ancestors in battles against us, and now they are anxious, wanting to sever the cultivator camped soil completely. The lords are all aware of this. In a vast territory, countless source worlds, a continuous emergence of cultivated geniuses is possible. Currently, there are 7 lords. In the future, there might be 8 or even 9 lords. If they conquer all territories, all source worlds will become their food, and they could even periodically wipe out the creatures within source worlds. No more successors. Only 7 lords? They are just a relatively strong force within the infinite primordial space. They cannot shake the status of the innate primordial life camp. The countless number of innate primordial life will also continuously produce ancestors. Let's go. Set out. Though they had only rested for 500 epochs and carried some fatigue, the 7 lords still set out together under the leadership of Starlight Lord, swiftly traversing the distant spacetime to intercept the batch of moving ancestors. It's a pity, the younger cultivators are too weak, none of them show any hope of becoming a lord. Yuan, as the first ancestor of the cultivator camp, had poured infinite effort into the cultivator territory. Each fall of a world group felt like cutting flesh from his heart. He hoped for a turning point. Hoped for the emergence of new lords. In recent epochs, they have invested massive resources, allowing even some half-primordial cultivators who have mastered 2 DAOs to receive abundant resources. Yet the result still shows no hope for new lords emerging. This Luo Feng has truly been secluded for over 5 billion epochs, able to comprehend 43 types of world-level primordial bloodline, indeed considered outstanding. But to become a lord is still far from enough. Yuan sighed internally. Comprehending 43 types of world-level primordial bloodline, historically, only 5 fusion Dao cultivators have managed such. Before the emergence of Starlight Lord, the world-level primordial bloodline in the land of origin was only a small fraction of what it is now. Luo Feng's performance indeed shows little hope of becoming a lord. Time flows silently like a river. Another 3 billion epochs spent. I've examined all the materials from the 31 ancestors' corpses. Luo Feng looked at the vast void within the quiet room, where 31 sprawling secret pattern figures surfaced, all rather disordered. After all, lacking complete bloodlines and life cores, these secret pattern images were already integrated with the land of origin's help. 3 billion epochs. Luo Feng could feel that in the mind-consciousness system, physical body system, and other 5 major systems, his accumulation was indeed deeper, but none had undergone qualitative change. The intriguing secret patterns within these deceased ancestors have no clearly defined core, they are all too scattered. Luo Feng lightly shook his head. If life secret patterns could dominate 50%, and destruction secret patterns 30%, the two could naturally serve as the absolute core, with other secret patterns merely assisting. The entire secret pattern map would be very aesthetic. Yet, in front of him, these 31 ancestors' secret patterns are generally scattered. Among them, the one deemed strongest, the red flame snake ancestor, has flame secret patterns occupying about 31%, life secret patterns 19%, space secret patterns 12%, time secret patterns 11%, material secret patterns 9%. From the secret patterns within its body, it's evident that the proportion of each secret pattern is not high. The scattered secret pattern proportions are typical among the deceased 31 ancestors. Based on my experience with low-level primordial, high-level primordial, and world-level primordial, the higher the proportion of the same secret pattern, the stronger the power at the same level. Luo Feng had discovered this earlier. Whether it's at the high-level primordial level, like Heavenly Fire Shadow, Ghost Prison Disaster Beast, Nine-Headed Chaos Beast, etc. Or at the world-level primordial level like Star Sea Demon Lord, Life and Death Pupil Beast, etc., it's all the same. The lords are also the same. For example, Starlight Lord comprehended primordial spacetime path. As for the Golden Lord, he comprehended primordial destruction path. Fusion Dao is essentially a Dao too. Luo Feng understood this point. Like himself, the Life and Death Dao is a Dao. All the lords comprehended a Dao at the primordial level. The lords are very focused. Whereas these ancestors explore bloodline potentials, digging a bit here and a bit there, resulting in sparse mastery. They possess dozens of secret patterns within, skillfully combined to grasp the highest level power. Luo Feng gazed upon these secret patterns. It's coincidental. Luo Feng considered these 31 secret patterns, processed and integrated by the land of origin, though differing from the real form of the 31 ancestors' primordial bloodline, they still estimated a similarity of 78%. Though very scattered, they can perfectly integrate, resembling a whole. Luo Feng observed. From this perspective, the threshold to become an ancestor level was indeed high. Land of origin. Luo Feng sat alone atop a tall building, gazing at the vast world. Master, it's rare for you to come out. Morosa attended to his master beside him. Now in the land of origin, he held significant authority, with the two ancient countries needing to look at Morosa's face. Morosa was truly the uncrowned king of the land of origin. However, Morosa preferred to serve his master. It's just that the master rarely appeared. Morosa. Luo Feng looked at him. You've managed the land of origin very well. Serving the master is my honor. Morosa replied, excited and proud. Luo Feng nodded, gazing upon the endless land. Yet the crisis comes from beyond. Once the innate primordial life camp invades the hinterland, the dark world group falls, creatures within the land of origin will have no ability to resist. This realm. Luo Feng's brow opened. The biomimetic destruction eye. The biomimetic destruction eye now is far more profound than before. Coupled with Luo Feng's immensely powerful spiritual will, he could glance at the entire source world with one eye, even seeing beyond the source world. My home source world. Under Luo Feng's biomimetic destruction eye, observed by his spiritual will, he could clearly see the traces of the rules. 9 DAOs are perfectly integrated, orderly, and smoothly operating, forming the operational rules of the entire source world. The origin of the source world. Here lies the source of the 9 DAOs, the core of the source world's operational rules, also the source of the source world's power. If the origin remains intact, even if the source world is destroyed, it can be reborn anew. Once the origin is lost, the source world is completely gone. What most attracts the innate primordial life is the origin of the source world. It possesses infinite wonders. World-level primordial consuming it might find a glimmering hope of breaking through to ancestor level. Origin. Luo Feng slightly furrowed his brows. The perfect integration of 9 DAOs forms the origin. Having researched the materials of 31 ancestors for billions of epochs, considering them for so long had deeply ingrained his understanding, now the secret pattern map of these 31 ancestor materials surfaced in his mind. Seemingly scattered combinations of various Dao secret patterns forming an entire. Compounded with the integration of 9 DAOs forming the origin. Boom! Luo Feng's eyes lit up. He saw it. He saw the true reason for the source world's strength. He also saw why each of those ancestors could become an ancestor. I understand. Luo Feng gently murmured. He finally saw it. Amidst layers of fog, he finally saw it. He saw the road of break laws with force. The road is already under his feet. What has the master understood? Morosa, who was attending nearby, couldn't help but feel confused upon hearing the master's soft murmur. Morosa could also see that the master was immersed in a state of enlightenment, so he dared not disturb him. He carefully guarded the area, strictly prohibiting any other creatures from approaching, in order to prevent affecting the master's current state. Luo Feng's biomimetic destruction eye at the center of his brow observed the source world origin. In his mind, the secret pattern map of the 31 ancestral corpses materials emerged for comparison. No wonder once a world-level primordial life controls the source world, they, relying on the source world, aren't least bit afraid of a primordial ancestor in a one-on-one situation. Because the source world and the primordial ancestor are fundamentally entities of the same level. Luo Feng understood. The usual source world is like a massive physical body without a soul. Once it has a master, it gains a soul. In a one-on-one, even a primordial ancestor can't handle it. I finally understand why all innate primordial lives possess a life core. Even those at the ancestor level also have a life core, Luo Feng thought. For innate primordial lives, everything else can be discarded, but the life core is most crucial. Once the life core shatters, it signifies complete annihilation. I previously believed the life core to be a huge weakness of innate primordial life, an imperfection in their natural creation. Luo Feng had thought this for a long time. Cultivators, they seek enlightenment on their own. No life core, no such huge weakness. Innate primordial life, its life core is its weak point. Some ancestors have fallen, all due to the vulnerability of the life core. The life core is the reason for their limitless potential. Luo Feng realized at this moment. The life core is also another form of origin. These innate primordial lives are born possessing the origin. Luo Feng also understood why bloodline path cultivators need certain special resources. Cultivators need to refine high-level primordial bloodline to become high-level primordial life. To become world-level primordial life, they need to refine world-level primordial bloodline. But as for those innate primordial lives, it is hard for them to acquire higher-level bloodlines. It is quite an achievement to be granted a drop of blood by a higher existence. Even if they don't acquire high-end bloodline, just by eating and living, some innate primordial lives grow naturally. Some even grow into ancestors just by consuming source world origin. Cultivators on the bloodline path value the primordial bloodline the most and have researched many methods to extract the primordial bloodline. However, they cannot extract a complete bloodline at the ancestor level. But for innate primordial life, their core isn't their bloodline, it's their life core. The growth of the life core leads to the growth of life. Every step in the growth of the life core triggers the evolution of the bloodline. So, the strength of early-stage Divine Emperor, middle-stage Divine Emperor, the manifestation of the primordial bloodline differs accordingly. Luo Feng fully understood. The life core is fundamental. The bloodline is merely the external manifestation of the life level. Cultivators cannot truly utilize the life core. They can only extract and utilize the externally manifested primordial bloodline. Luo Feng sighed slightly. Innate primordial lives are truly the darlings of infinite primordial space. Born with a life core, and under various opportunities, the life core grows continuously. It can grow to a level comparable to the source world origin. Reaching this level means achieving ancestor-level existence. This is the mystery of the highest level of life. Ancestor-level life forms and the source world both have an origin, and a lord should have an origin too. For the first two, their origin is materialized. As for the lords, their origin is the primordial level Tao. If the Tao does not perish, they do not perish, so every lord is immortal. Luo Feng understood the difference between the two. The ancestor's origin is the life core, which has clear weaknesses. The lord's origin is the Tao. Invisible, untouchable, undying, and immortal. Lords also have weaknesses. Luo Feng had learned some information, understanding the difference between primordial ancestors and cultivator lords. Primordial ancestors generally have large physiques, while the lords, their physiques are generally smaller. Of course, this is an average standard. Ancestor-level physical bodies are generally much larger than Lord-level physical bodies. The life core is a material existence. It can endlessly accumulate power, supporting a sufficiently massive physical body. Lords, without a materialized origin, have limited power storage within themselves, and generally have smaller physiques. If given a choice, Luo Feng believes those ancestors would prefer smaller sizes, without the vulnerability of the life core, truly becoming undying and immortal. My life and death Tao primarily focuses on life, with destruction as a supplement. Now, I have glimpsed the mystery of the highest level of life. If I fully comprehend its essence, I can completely construct billions of origins within me. For those ancestors, their life cores are innate. If Luo Feng comprehends that Tao within, understands the essence, he can create origins postnatally. Just like opening countless heavenly spaces within his body, the same principle can be used to open billions of origins. On one hand, I need to eliminate the vulnerability of origin. Even if I lose thousands of origins, the impact on me remains low. On the other hand, I need to leverage the advantages of origin, for billions of origins can accumulate incomparably vast energy, enabling me to have an immensely powerful physical body. Both want, both demand. Only the Tao that understands the essence of life can achieve this step. If there is a Lord who can realize the primordial life Tao, his body will also be the most immense, most vital, and hardest to destroy existence in the entire infinite primordial space. Luo Feng's primordial life and death Tao, after all, focuses on life, and his path more reflects the characteristics of the life direction, with the destruction direction being relatively weaker. Land of origin, atop the mountains of Primordial Island, inside the quiet room of the cave mansion. An endless gigantic secret pattern map of 31 ancestor-level materials floated in suspension. Luo Feng's eye of life and death opened on his forehead, observing carefully. I see the path. But the path requires me to walk it myself. Only by walking to the end can I grasp the Tao within. Luo Feng is well aware of how difficult it is to remove the critical weak points of the origin while taking advantage of the endless energy storage of the origin, but this direction is what he has always pursued. What seems like scattered secret patterns is actually unified. Even if the other 7 lords were to look, it would be difficult to see how dozens of different Tao's mysteries form the origin. Specialize in one's field. The current 7 lords, whether it's the destruction path, the thunder path, or the fluctuation path, none are proficient in life, and origin is the highest level of life's mystery. Without sufficient accumulation in this aspect, without terrifying comprehension in this area, it's fundamentally impossible to see this path. Luo Feng realized the foundation of the half-primordial life and death Tao, also comprehending over 50 million low-level primordial bloodlines, more than 320,000 high-level primordial bloodlines, and researched over 2,000 world-level primordial bloodlines along with materials from 31 ancestor corpses, accumulating deep enough. Relying on his strong comprehension, he finally glimpsed this path. Discovering this path, Luo Feng then had the possibility of becoming a lord. No wonder any ancestor, the mystique of life within them is at least 10%, because the mystery formed by the life core mainly relies on life's mystery. Luo Feng also rejoiced. With life path as the main direction, there's hope to explore the mystery of the origin. If destruction were the main focus, the difficulty of breaking laws with force might significantly increase. Breaking laws with force also requires luck. Luo Feng thought. For him, realizing half-primordial life and death Tao didn't feel too difficult. Though he encountered some bottlenecks, he only took less than 10,000 eras to succeed. However, to break laws with force, merely glimpsing the path, Luo Feng felt a sense of needing luck. My future, primordial life and death Tao, besides the existing mind-consciousness system, life system, destruction system, primordial force system, and physical body system, has a 6th system, the origin system. The origin system is even more central. Luo Feng devotedly comprehended the secret patterns of materials from these 31 ancestor corpses, researching how the origin integrates and forms. After all, his future self will combine the wonders of life and destruction. And these ancestors combine numerous mysteries of the Tao. He cannot imitate but must understand its essence. The same thing, observed from different angles, yields different insights. Luo Feng now, observing from the perspective of the origin system, gained new understanding of the secret patterns of these 31 ancestor-level materials. His origin system seems like a seed, drawing nutrients from these 31 ancestors, starting to grow robustly. This time Luo Feng spent even longer. Meticulous comprehension. Again and again. Luo Feng carefully considered materials from different ancestors, pondering deeply. He forgot time, only feeling his accumulations in all aspects rising, and the origin system gradually taking shape. Almost there. Suddenly, one day, Luo Feng stopped. He had studied the various materials from these 31 ancestors so many times and was too familiar already. My 6 systems of primordial life and death Tao have deep accumulations. Although Luo Feng had not yet created the primordial life and death Tao, these 6 systems naturally integrated in his mind. He even had a vague outline of the primordial life and death Tao in his heart. These primordial bloodlines, I have comprehended low-level and high-level primordial bloodlines. However, among the 2,729 world-level primordial bloodlines, I've only comprehended 43 types. I've studied ancestor-level materials for over 10 billion eras. Now let's see how much I can comprehend from the 2,729 world-level primordial bloodlines. Luo Feng retrieved one of the uncomprehended world-level primordial bloodlines and auxiliary materials. After less than a day of viewing. Interesting. With Luo Feng's current insight, upon examining world-level primordial bloodlines, he discovered a secret, and a smile appeared on his face. It turns out, at the world-level primordial stage, the secret pattern mystique within them has already begun forming the origin. However, the origin formed by their internal secret patterns is incomplete. For the ancestor level, the origin constituted by secret patterns is complete, comparable to the source world origin. The world-level secret patterns are actually forming the origin, but the incomplete origin is hard to detect. Only after Luo Feng accumulated sufficiently in the origin system could he discern this point. Land of origin, within the quiet room of Yuan's cave mansion. A towering figure sat cross-legged, his body like a pillar of the infinite primordial space, unshakable. Around him appeared various great Tao, all becoming tangible. Some took the form of winding divine dragons around his arm, while firebirds circled between his hair, radiant mists flowed through his mouth and nose, and billions of universes were born on the surface of his skin. Lord, the Feng 7 line in the Chunwei world group has fallen. Lord, the Changshu origin world has been breached, its origin devoured. Lord, the Ice Peak camp has entered our Chunwei world group. I wanted to repel them, but a terrifying existence from the Ice Peak camp acted, destroying my main battle avatar. The Ice Peak camp has already conquered 12 of our world groups. They clearly are not satisfied. Information flowed in continuously. Yuan, as the first lord of the cultivator camp, had immense accumulation, and his path of cultivation made him very suitable to oversee the entire territory. Although there are 7 lords in the cultivator camp managing different lands, key affairs generally fall under Yuan's decision-making. Only extremely important matters are discussed by all 7 lords together. A vast amount of information was transmitted continually. Yuan calmly issued command after command. He slowly opened his eyes, which contained life and death across time and space, as well as rising thunder and flames. While our cultivator camp is completely suppressed by the innate primordial life camp, other forces also come to take advantage and bite. Yuan was quite annoyed, yet there was nothing he could do. After all, in the infinite primordial space, though the 7 lords of the cultivator camp are formidable, the other forces are equally troublesome. No force with a seat in the land of eternity is easy to deal with. Especially those unrestrained, undying existences. They currently take advantage to annex the resources of the cultivator camp, which greatly troubled Yuan. Under normal circumstances, the 7 lords could make some undying existences flee in defeat. But under the threat from the innate primordial life camp, the lords couldn't spare any strength. There are still too few lords. Why is the innate primordial life camp the largest force? Because they possess over 100 ancestors. Yuan pondered. Cultivator Luo Feng has comprehended the 97th world-level primordial bloodline. An inconspicuous piece of information among many did surprise Yuan. He has already comprehended 97. Yuan began to focus his attention. To have comprehended 97 world-level primordial bloodlines was already very special. Because of the current 7 lords, 5 first refined the source world, becoming master of the source world, and relied on abilities of speed of thought, comprehension at the master level to eventually comprehend the primordial level Tao. The remaining 2, Starlight Lord and Lord Naijiyu, fusion Tao cultivators and once spent a long time comprehending the world-level primordial bloodline. Lord Naijiyu, before jumping out of the braided cage, comprehended 397 types of world-level primordial bloodline. Starlight Lord, before jumping out of the braided cage, comprehended 512 types of world-level primordial bloodline. Of course, they both shared a common point. Back then, the cultivator camp collected far fewer world-level primordial bloodlines than now, less than half the number today. In history, among fusion Tao cultivators, the number who comprehended over 100 world-level primordial bloodlines before jumping out of the braided cage is only Starlight and Naijiyu. Yuan held some expectation. Luo Feng's current place of seclusion was maintaining a million-fold time acceleration. He comprehended world-level primordial bloodlines swiftly. Cultivator Luo Feng comprehended the 100th world-level primordial bloodline. Cultivator Luo Feng comprehended the 159th world-level primordial bloodline. Cultivator Luo Feng comprehended the 231st world-level primordial bloodline. Yuan originally paid just a bit of attention while handling various affairs to Luo Feng's information. Later, he primarily focused on Luo Feng's information. The importance of all other information in the cultivator camp was pushed back. How so fast? In just one era, from the original 43 types rose to 231 types. Yuan was somewhat stunned, even considering the time acceleration in the cave mansion. Comprehending 200 types in a million eras was still fast. Yuan did not immediately notify the other 6 lords. At that moment, their 7 main battle avatars were engaged against 71 ancestor-level existences. On one side, experienced and numerous, their coordinated efforts held an absolute advantage, aiming to annihilate a lord's main battle avatar, forcing the remaining 6 into complete retreat. On the other side, mastering the essence of Tao, 7 leading in defense yet looking to kill a weak ancestor. Their battles at this level could last over 1,000 eras and still be the norm. 300 types of world-level primordial bloodline. 400 types. Already 513 types, he is now the cultivator camp figure who comprehended the most world-level primordial bloodlines before jumping out of the braided cage. Yuan was excited, the most intense he's been in a long time. Luo Feng's number of world-level primordial bloodline comprehension exceeded that of Lord Naijiyu, and Starlight Lord was not Yuan's main excitement, though once the primordial bloodlines were much fewer. His fundamental excitement stemmed from speed. Luo Feng's rate of comprehension was simply overwhelming, sweeping through without obstruction. None of the world-level primordial bloodlines took Luo Feng too long to comprehend. It's 600 types now. It's 800 types now. It's 1,000 types now. Yuan's eyes shone brightly. In less than 10 eras of time, which isn't even 10 million eras in real time, he's comprehended so many world-level primordial bloodlines. He must have grasped the essence of them. What kind of essence can penetrate through over 1,000 types of world-level primordial bloodlines? Luo Feng must have already touched upon some kind of highest level of power. Yuan immediately sent messages to the other 6 lords. Everyone, focus all efforts on dealing with these ancestors and try to delay them as much as possible. Yuan transmitted, I have good news for you all, our cultivator camp is likely to give birth to a new lord. Land of origin. All 7 lords had avatars present, gathered together. A new lord? Jin, Wulan, Minghuang, Naijiyu, Starlight, Mo Man, and Yuan were all somewhat excited at this moment, for they had been severely suppressed by the innate primordial life camp in the recent eras. Some other forces even took advantage of this, naturally making them quite aggrieved. They even predicted that, given the enemy's determination to go all out this time, the entire realm of the cultivator camp might fall. Losing all territories means losing the soil for cultivating endless new cultivators, making it incredibly difficult to nurture a lord again. Moreover, the extinction of countless cultivator creatures was something the Seven Lords were unwilling to witness. Luo Feng has already comprehended over 1,000 types of world-level primordial bloodlines. The Six Lords who just received the news were somewhat shocked. How long has he been cultivating? Lord Mo Man couldn't help but say, only about 1,500 eras? Considering the actual seclusion time, it's only been 1.5 billion eras. That's such a short time. It is very short. Starlight Lord said softly, back when I used the power breaking technique, the real time was about 12 billion eras. Through the unimaginably long ages of suffering, the Starlight Lord finally mastered the space-time Tao of the primordial level. Starlight, don't you have many avatars in the future? Jin asked excitedly, urging, quickly take a look, see Luo Feng's future. I just observed some time ago, then I saw over 30 million futures for him with only 9 that could become a lord. I'll take another look now. Starlight Lord began observing information about Luo Feng through his avatars in the future. In every timeline of the future, space is vast with a plethora of information to probe. Discover the weaknesses of those ancestors, finding the possibility to kill an ancestor in combat. Observing how other nearby forces will act. Luo Feng as a junior, Starlight Lord would only occasionally check on him. Starlight Lord's expression slightly changed. The 6 surrounding lords looked towards Starlight Lord, such a strong ability to observe the future solely in the infinite primordial space. Even within the primordial ancestors, some excelled in space-time. Yet even if they can revive from the future, it costs a long time to do so, indicating that their space-time mastery is far behind Starlight Lord. Only Starlight Lord was qualified to be called the observer and recorder of past, present, future in infinite primordial space. What happened? Jin asked. Many of Luo Feng's future timelines have already collapsed and extinguished, unified and constrained into one future. Starlight Lord said in disbelief, the path ahead of him has only one possibility, to break laws with force. I observed over 30 million timelines, and he has tried using the power-breaking technique, succeeding in over 20 million times. Those failed attempts are still ongoing. Starlight looked at the 6 lords. The 6 lords could hardly believe it. The future contains too many possibilities. Jin Lord couldn't help but say, yet his future has now started to collapse and unify. The future swiftly collapsing, consolidating into one possibility, this is the reality that is about to be born. Reality is rapidly locking in. Unable to alter. He should have already mastered the highest level of secrets. Lord Ming Huang said, so it only takes time to unify all wonders, transforming into primordial level Tao. Such strong comprehension. Wulan couldn't help but mutter, I became the master of the source world after spending 50 trillion eras to become a lord. How long has he been cultivating? Starlight Lord's gaze swept over the 6 lords, everyone, Luo Feng's future is collapsing and unifying, his future is also affecting the entire cultivator camp's future. Yuan and the others listened to Starlight Lord's narration. A being that can observe countless future possibilities, his advice is invaluable. I will immediately arrange a formation for Luo Feng's cave mansion, mobilizing the power of the entire land of origin to maintain, increasing the time acceleration of his cave mansion. Starlight Lord said. From now on, the war strategy changes to delay strategy, stalling the progress of this war. Starlight Lord said, delay until Luo Feng completely uses the power-breaking technique. The situation will change then. Okay. The 6 lords all agreed, the imminent arrival of new companions and the potential reversal of the war situation excited them individually. This episode is end here.